The spiritual man must lead a higher life than the life of altruism. He must lead the life of self-identification with all that lives and moves. There is no other in this world. We are all one. Each is a separate form, but one spirit moves and lives in all. So Nancy's talk will discuss this concept, why we explore our journey from me to we, the oneness of all. So please welcome Nancy.
Thank you, Richard. Well, I'm going to start this evening by telling you a story. Once upon a time, somewhere in the vastness of eternity, a meeting was held. Those who met were beings who had gained knowledge and wisdom through repeated incarnations as human beings, each with its pleasures and pains, struggles and challenges. As a result, these elders had proven themselves worthy of helping others to do the same. They met this day to identify those whose turn it was for human incarnation and to send them off on this next step in their pilgrimage. Because, you see, each of their kind was obliged to walk through all the kingdoms of nature and learn the lessons of each before being allowed to return for eternity to their natural place as part of the integral whole. Those who were set off today were headed for a temporary appearance as human beings on earth. Upon leaving, each one was given a gift, a mirror. One of the elders handed a mirror to each fledgling soul in turn. "Look into the mirror," the elder said. "See your true self and remember it." The candidate did as instructed, and the elder repeated the process with each one. Another elder took the mirror from the candidate and shattered it and handed back the pieces. This process, too, was repeated with each one. "Your job," the elder told them, "is to put the mirror back together so that you can once again see your true self. Until you do, your reflection will be skewed and disillusionment will reign. You will carry this mirror throughout all your human incarnations, sometimes fitting to pieces together, and sometimes making mistakes and shattering the mirror still further. It will take many incarnations, but eventually you will succeed in restoring the mirror to its wholeness. The seams will disappear, your reflection will be clear, and you will be ready to return to us and to take your place, this time with knowledge and wisdom as part of the integral whole." Now, the parable of the prodigal son from the Bible could be seen as referring to this same kind of journey. And the third fundamental proposition of the secret doctrine speaks of evolution of the monad, which it also calls soul or pilgrim, whereby each incarnation builds upon the last until it ultimately returns to its source, the universal spirit, as an indivisible part of the integral whole. This evolutionary process being the obligatory pilgrimage for every soul, and our time here on earth, a temporary appearance. This is a somewhat technical description of unity, which we can construe as the integral whole. And it says to us that while we are each an indivisible part of that whole, we can still make a temporary appearance here on earth, thereby explaining our incarnations as human beings, animals, plants, or minerals. The theme of this convention is from me to we to the oneness of all. Obviously, this refers to human incarnations. Let's step back from that a little, just for a moment, because according to the proem in the Secret Doctrine, which I just talked about, we have each also spent time in the mineral, plant, and animal kingdoms. It occurs to me that perhaps when we feel as well as see the beauty in a flower, when we feel and respond to the greatness of nature with awe and wonderment, we are perhaps identifying with our past spent in that kingdom and relating it as a part of ourselves, not just something external to us. Perhaps when we relate to domestic animals, pets, and others, we are seeing them on some level as our little brothers and sisters. We have been where they are and can now help them along, just as the elders were helping the young initiates in this story. And maybe at times we can still feel the raw energy and deep familial attachments of wild animals. Perhaps when we are in our deepest, most still moments, remnants of time spent in the mineral kingdom are triggered that allow us to be so still. I've actually never thought about that before. This came to me just a few days ago. But it is a possibility. To me, it means that we can take comfort in the knowledge that we are all a part of nature, of this earth, and we can feel our place in it. We belong. Getting back to human beings, what do we see when we look back at our lives? Scenes, memories, parents, school, friends. We learn about the world and the culture that we find ourselves in. We develop social skills, grow emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. A baby is the most egocentric of beings. We love them, but they are. They know only their own needs. If they are hungry, wet, or in pain, they communicate in the only way that they know how. They cry. This is me at its strongest. A child knows nothing of the outer world. It learns who will take care of its needs, who it is most comfortable with, who it can trust or not. Even once the baby identifies mother, father, and others, he or she doesn't see them as we, not yet. Others, in a baby, young child, or adolescent's life, are necessary means to an end. They are the teachers of lessons needed, whether light and happy, or hard and painful. Of course, this is unconscious egotism for the one involved. For most of us, as we learn whatever lessons this incarnation has for us, the sense of we becomes more apparent. We grow in the consciousness needed for us to begin to direct our own lives. This takes work. It means drawing from lessons learned in past lives, however many previous incarnations a being has had, and how well lessons were learned. Some begin conscious searches early on, as children. For others, that comes later. For some, not at all, and they are stuck. During this life, in the me stage of their evolution. Not to worry, there will be other chances. Early in life, our separateness is at the forefront of our being. This is the beginning of our temporary appearance as human beings. Our separateness is like the pieces of a shattered mirror. We are on this journey together. Each of us is a part of the other. Brothers and sisters on this plane of existence, this earth, each struggling in his or her own way. The we part of our journey begins when we start to see others in our life as partners in this evolution. We identify with family, perhaps with a specific other. We may marry. We may start a family of our own. During our childhood, in school, and in family life, we learned social skills acceptable to the culture in which we were born. At the Adyar Theosophical Academy, and other schools I'm sure, the children learn a little mantra. We'll call it a mantra for the purposes of this talk. Each child states their name, where they are from, and the unifying theme. It goes, "My name is Nancy. I'm from the United States, and I'm just like you." The next child might say, "My name is Ramesh. I'm from India, and I'm just like you." Or, "My name is Renee. I'm from New Zealand, and I'm just like you." In this way, the children begin to learn how to be we rather than just me. They learn no matter where we are from, we are all just the same. We have the same basic needs and desires, the same aspirations and goals. The we stage sees us developing more emotionally and mentally. We form attachments that are mutually beneficial. We learn about brotherhood, sisterhood, kinship. We learn about love. We may reach out to help those in need as we explore ways to further develop our mutual journey with others. One way is through service to others. I have to bring in service. It's required. This can take many forms, but all of them are paths to understanding the oneness of all. Life is sacred. Life is holy. Life is one. As we progress along the path of spiritual transformation, or unfoldment, as HPB called it, we begin to see more and more clearly what brotherhood, sisterhood, kinship really means. Are we our brother's keeper? If we limit ourselves to the physical level of humanitarian service, it may seem that way. HPB said that brotherhood is the law of life. When we can look at another and see ourselves, that their suffering is my suffering, and their joy is my joy, then we understand what service really is. We understand that we don't just serve another, we are that other, our brother, our sister, our sibling, and that we are serving ourselves. Through this realization, we unconsciously grow with every act of service. Remember the mirror? Service to other suffering beings can help to put that mirror together again. One of my teachers said that love is the realization of unity. If we see ourselves in others, if we recognize the family resemblance as brothers and sisters, if we realize that unity, then love is the natural result. It stands to reason then that once we realize the nature of unity, if even for an instant, we know true love as well. Love in its purest form, a pure love that binds the shattered pieces of our mirror together seamlessly. And what of this journey? HBB held a practical view of Theosophy to which many of us can relate. She emphasized brotherhood, charity, mutual help, understanding, and goodwill among all. She advocated for the basic laws of life, calling brotherhood a fact in nature. Madame Blavatsky held that the regeneration of mankind must be based upon the development of altruism. Her constant lesson to us is the necessity of subduing self and of working for others. Blavatsky taught that self-responsibility, ethics, and altruism are essential to true spiritual unfoldment. She said that theosophy is altruism, and more specifically, that he who does not practice altruism is no theosophist. In her turn, Annie Besant was a proponent of living theosophy in both our inner and outer lives. In talks, she said that we exemplify it with our own actions, with service to others, to those who suffer. And that's all of us, isn't it? Rada Bernier explained it thus: it is not merely doing the work which is important, but the manner in which it is done and the purity of purpose behind it. The purity of purpose behind acting brotherly or sisterly is based on love. To go from brotherhood or sisterhood, even with a capital letter, to universal brotherhood or kinship of humanity, we must act with unconditional love. Why? As I have already said, one of my teachers, Harry Van Gelder, used to say that love is the realization of unity. Annie Besant called it self-identification with all that lives and moves. And HPB spoke of brotherhood as a law of nature. Fully realizing the unity of all life, therefore, gives rise naturally to divine love and fills our hearts with the purest form of love for all beings, for all that lives and moves. As it says in At the Feet of the Master, this is the love that inspires the will. Divine love is not love in the ordinary sense of the word. It is not based on emotion or attraction. In fact, while serving others, we sometimes need to get beyond repulsion in some circumstances. Divine love allows us to see beyond the physical. Through divine love, we can really see ourselves in others, our divine selves. Self-identification with all that lives and moves. Through it, we can realize the unity of all life. This kind of love is so powerful, so far-reaching, so connective with all that is, that it compels us to act. It ignites the flame that fuels the will. At dinner tonight, somebody was talking about, bacteria or something that communicates with each other? Well, I watched a documentary on Netflix not too long ago entitled Fantastic Fungi, The Magic Beneath Us. Did anybody else see that? It was really good. It's a film by Louis Schwartzberg. The film talks about the role fungi, mushrooms, have played and are playing in the evolution of the earth and its creatures, including human beings. We are told that, quote, evolution is based on the concept of mutual benefit and the extension of generosity. I really like that, the extension of generosity. And that is the first, was it parameter? Yeah, that John was talking about earlier. As I watched and listened, I couldn't help but compare this to our service work in the world, especially once we realize that we are all connected, that we share one life. It went on to say, quote, when we see it, we understand it. When we understand it, we care about it. And when we care about it, we'll do something to help save it, close quote. Apparently, there is a hidden underground network the world over of fungi that connects us. It's all over the world. It's amazing. It underlies all things, and it is absolutely necessary for our continued existence. Just like bees. I think we all know that we need bees to pollinate crops and things, and if they don't do it, if the bees die, we're dead because we won't have anything to eat. The branches of this network resemble, it was said, the World Wide Web, and it is called by some the Wood Wide Web. It is everywhere, all over the world, giving nutrients to trees and other life forms, and like Shiva, the destroyer in Hinduism, disintegrating and destroying decaying matter in order that it may be revived anew. Through this network, trees talk to each other, protect young saplings, and share nutrients. The mushroom network practices mutual benefit and the extension of generosity. In the film, we are told that we need to have a paradigm shift in our consciousness. And it asked, what will it take to achieve that? I think that living a theosophical life toward the goal of spiritual unfoldment will naturally and ultimately achieve such a shift in consciousness. If our service to others is done with a pure motive, as Radaji suggests, if we can see ourselves in others, we will realize that we are serving life itself, the one life that connects us all. The film ended with the following words, supposedly spoken by the Mushroom Network. These words can apply to all of us. Quote, "We are not an individual. We are a vast network of molecules and energies and wavelengths. The interconnectedness of being is who we are. This world of ours is always changing, not for the better or for the worst, but for life." Close quote. If we act as a bodhisattva acts to benefit all, we can say, along with the Mushroom Network, quote, "If the storms come and the water rises, if fire scorches the land or darkness descends, we will be there working as we always have, extending the network, building community, restoring balance, one connection at a time. It may take 1,000,000 years or 100 million, but we will still be here." Close quote. The inner side of service that is hidden from view, even from ourselves. We work for the self with a capital S that is within each of us, serving the highest in each small act. It often feels like our service has no effect, but those who know will persevere, even if it takes 1,000,000 years. As I've already said, service can take many forms. I'm often asked, where do I begin? My answer is, grow where you are planted. Start from wherever you are. If you are responsible for caring for a family, serve them with as much love and care as you can. Branch out, if and when possible, to help neighbors and friends. Those who are able can incorporate community services, perhaps in a small way, perhaps taking the lead. We each have our strengths and our skills. Identify and use them to serve those who suffer. Remember our younger brothers. Include nature, animals, plants, and minerals, the earth itself. Adopt a lifestyle of harmlessness. Along the way, we will be restoring our shattered mirror. In India, people greet each other with hands held as if in prayer and say, Namaste. In this way, we pay homage to the highest self in each person. When we do this, and even in the Western world, when we shake hands, we need to think about this and know that we are communicating with, doing business with, serving a spiritual being. We need to realize that we are looking in a mirror, whatever station in life that being inhabits, that they are not lesser than us or greater, but rather that they are us, because we are all one life. I was recently part of a discussion group that was talking about brotherhood. People were saying that we needed to see ourselves as mirrors of others and vice versa. It was a good group. The discussion was lively with lots of good insights. I spoke up, saying that while all that had been said was true and insightful, we needed to go even further than that. We needed to step into that mirror, to take a step into the universal, that our ultimate goal is unity, oneness with all life. We needed to go through the looking glass. The leader of the group hushed me, saying that we were not ready for that yet. That was true enough. You know, I mean, we're really not. But I disagree that we are not ready to even talk or think about it yet. Let's go another step in our discussion of brotherhood, kinship, to universal brotherhood or kinship. We are to be a nucleus of universal kinship. We'll use the New Zealand term. I think that universal kinship of humanity, spoken of in the first object, refers to the unity of all life. It goes beyond being a mirror, beyond seeing ourselves and others. It goes through the looking glass. We are only human. This concept is very difficult to grasp unless couched in simple language. And it's downright scary to most people. We speak of the dewdrop falling into the sea to blend with all other dewdrops, to become one with them. I have, well, I suppose he's still my friend, I just haven't seen him for a long time. This concept of blending in with everybody else, of being one life, one whole, really scared him because of the loss of individuality, and he feared that. Okay. For heaven's sake, most people are afraid of dying. This concept goes even further than that. Something that is truly beyond our comprehension. But some have glimpsed it, perhaps only for an instant, but enough to realize its existence, enough to propel them toward the self-unfoldment which will take us to the center of our being, which will allow us to step through the looking glass. It's a journey, a pilgrimage, as is said in the proem to the Secret Doctrine. The mission of the Theosophical Society is to serve humanity by cultivating an ever-deepening understanding and realization of the ageless wisdom, spiritual self-transformation, and the unity of all life. Living this mission can take many forms. As I said before, we each have our strength and our skills. Identify and use them to fulfill our mission. Along the way, we will be restoring our shattered mirror. Once it's together, we can see ourselves again for who we really are. We can see the Maya of this earth for what it is: distraction, diversion, or amusement and recreation. Delusions, all, but valuable delusions that provide the lessons we need to find our way home. Theosophy speaks to the oneness of all life. We grow spiritually as we become more and more open to seeing the unity of life wherever we look. Earlier, we spoke of the mineral, plant, and animal kingdoms of nature, of how there can be a residue of inner memory of lessons learned in those kingdoms. Just as that residue is a part of our being, the essence of the lessons learned during the me and we stages of human incarnation remain with us as we progress to the realization of unity, as we progress toward knowing and understanding divine love. In the voice of the silence, HPB also speaks of the I and the heart doctrines. Simply put, the I doctrine is head learning, and the heart doctrine is soul wisdom. We are told to learn above all to separate head learning from soul wisdom. This is so that soul wisdom has the room to grow. Ultimately, we are to blend thy mind and soul, as even ignorance is better than head learning with no soul wisdom to illuminate and guide it. Of course, all of this leads us back to Blavatsky's emphasis on self-knowledge, responsibility, ethics, and altruism. This is our path to the eternal. This is our job here on earth. It will take many lives to complete. Once completed, our mirror will be intact. We can see ourselves for who we really are, to return to our place as part of the integral whole. Then we can step through the looking glass. What will we find? I don't know. But as we are told by HPB, there is a road, steep and thorny, beset with perils of every kind, but yet a road. And it leads to the very heart of the universe. I can tell you how to find those who will show you the secret gateway that opens inward only and closes fast behind the neophyte forevermore. There is no danger that dauntless courage cannot conquer. There is no trial that spotless purity cannot pass through. There is no difficulty that strong intellect cannot surmount. For those who win onwards, there is reward past all telling, the power to bless and save humanity. For those who fail, there are other lives in which success may come. That is the end of my talk. However, a couple of days ago, Renee gave me this book, Poems of Bliss by Jeffrey Hudson. Have you heard of Jeffrey Hudson? And I opened it, and the very first poem in this book, which is called The Beginning, is my talk. At least it felt that way to me. So this is a little long, it's 2 pages. But if you will indulge me, I would like to read it. Is that okay? In the beginning, God the Father spoke to me, saying, "And now, my son, you must go forth from me, that you may find yourself. Therefore, from this center, which is myself, you shall go forth to the circumference, which is also myself, though you shall know it not. And for you, the center shall be lost. Circumference shall be unstable, failing you, as shall the way between. And from this power omnipotent, which is myself, you shall go forth into powerlessness, be helpless and in need. And from this love embracing all, which is myself, you shall go forth into loneliness, be loveless and alone. And from this light enlightening all, which is myself, you shall go forth into darkness, be lightless and blind. And from this unity within identity, which is myself, you shall go forth into separateness, be ignorant even of me. And of all your forthgoings and privations, this last shall bring the greatest pain, to be ignorant of me. Knowing me not, your power will not meet your need. Your love will not bring love to you. Your light will not penetrate your gloom, for darkness will engulf you. You will wander, think yourself as lost and utterly alone. Wherefore, Father of all, I said, must I go forth? Again, I say that you may find yourself. For from the circumference you will recoil, its instability repelling you. Dim memories will stir in you, of stability unshakable, of equipoise immovable, of peace which nothing can disturb, of the center wherein all these abide. Then towards that center, which is myself, you will set forth, and at last arrive and find all these, and more besides, myself and all creation, and greater for you even than these, yourself. Know yourself as center and circumference, yourself and I. From helplessness, your need will turn you inwards, back along the road on which you sped, in search of power which faileth not, of strength naught can gainsay, and will which will give resistless rule. This also you will find, knowing the universe as power, yourself as will, yet not your will, but mine, until at last I too shall disappear, and but yourself as king remain. Your lovelessness, your loneliness will turn you back to me, in search of constancy and love immutable. Me you will remember, if dimly in your pain, the one love and the one beloved, which I am. And love shall guide you back to me till you find love's self. Companionship eternal shall be yours, abiding through all creative nights and days, and entering into bliss ineffable. You shall find me and leave me nevermore. For finding me, your own true self appears, the highest self of all, yourself as love. From darkness, your gloom impenetrable will turn you back, in search of everlasting light which once you know, the light eternal and undimmable, shall beckon you across the darkened sky and sea. Its beams shall shine on your return, and at long last guide you back into the light, which is myself. And as you enter into light perpetual, yourself shall be revealed, yourself as light.
Oh, thank you very much, Nancy. That was marvellous. You took us on a bit of a journey there, starting about the mirror split into 1,000 pieces, and sounds like an awful long time to put it back together again, but we'll try. And that bit about the identification with nature, that was quite an interesting thing that I hadn't really thought of too much before. And when I think about it, some people are cat people or dog people, or so maybe there's something deeper in why you are that way, or you love a sunset, or maybe you love the mountains or the forests or lakes, and so that's quite worth thinking about. And there are some beautiful quotes from Annie Besant and HBB and Rada on universality and unity. And then the interesting about that fungi reminded me of you've seen the Avatar, I haven't seen the latest Avatar, but the first Avatar movie. And on this world they had the trees all interconnected. It was quite an amazing scene. And we talked about and I thought, oh wow, the unity of all life when I saw that. And when you mentioned it was on Earth with this fungi, I thought, wow, that's sort of raising. So, and then to end with such a beautiful poem by Jeffrey Hodson is really fantastic. So thank you. Just wondering if there's any questions for...
Yes, back to the trees and the linking. If you will look up on the internet, zombie cowrie. Now the story goes that a scientist was walking in the kauri forests in the Waitakere and looked at this dead stump and suddenly discovered it had brand new bark growing on it. And they investigated further and discovered that the dead kauri and the nearby living kauri their roots were actually physically joined together. Now, on further investigation, they discovered the entire Kauri Grove, the roots, they were separate trees above ground, but the roots were joined together underground.
Wow.
Now, there is a Maori legend that Kahikatea does the same thing. So it's quite literal that the trees are actually joined together.
Mm.